The storm outside Ravenhurst had not ceased for days. The rain fell like whispers on the ancient stone walls, echoing the ache Evelyn could no longer silence. Every night, she woke breathless, his voice still lingering at the edge of her dreams. Adrian Vale. The name itself felt like a wound. Since that night in the library, when the candles had died and his shadow vanished into the dark, she'd been unable to step near the West Wing again. The memory was too heavy, too raw. Yet even in her waking hours, she swore she could feel him, like a ghost brushing past her shoulder, like a sigh in her ear when no one else was there. Tonight, the whisper returned. Evelyn. Her pen slipped from her fingers. The sound wasn't from memory this time. It came from the walls. The soft echo pulsed through her dorm room, low and pleading, wrapped in the scent of old paper and candle smoke. No, she whispered. Not again. But she was already on her feet, drawn by something stronger than fear. She wrapped a shawl over her shoulders, ignoring the pounding of her heart, and slipped through the empty hallways of Ravenhurst Academy. The West Wing loomed ahead, sealed, silent, drenched in moonlight. The wooden door that had once resisted all force now stood ajar, like it had been waiting. She pushed it open. The air inside was colder than winter. Shelves loomed in silence, the books shifting slightly as if watching her. The scent, dust, and something sweetly decayed wrapped around her. Candles flickered to life one by one, illuminating her path. Her eyes caught on something glinting on the floor. A glove. Her pulse stuttered. She knew that glove, black leather, worn at the fingertips. Adrian's. It lay beside a faintly glowing mark etched into the stone, a swirling sigil she had never seen before. She knelt. The sigil pulsed once, twice, as though responding to her presence. Adrian. Her voice trembled. Are you? Her fingers brushed the mark. The world bled away. A rush of air. A sound like wings. She gasped as visions flooded her mind. His voice, his pain, his eyes. Adrian, bound in a cage of light and shadow, his wrists chained to spectral pillars. His lips moved, but the sound was muffled, distant, trapped behind the veil of worlds. Her breath caught as she reached toward him. He looked right at her and smiled. It was sorrow and longing entwined. She could feel it, his yearning, his despair, like fire threading through her veins. Every heartbeat was his. Every tear that burned down her cheek was his agony mirrored in her chest. Evelyn. His voice reached her this time, faint and broken. You shouldn't have come back. She stumbled back, breaking the vision, but the sigil on the floor had changed. It now pulsed faster, brighter, as if something beneath it had awakened. The whisper came again. Not Adrian's this time. Lower. Hungrier. Older. Her gaze dropped, and her breath froze. The floor beneath her rippled. The inked glow spread outward, forming a shadowed hand, thin, black as smoke. It reached out, curling around her wrist, cold and alive. The voice that followed was a whisper of silk and nightmare. He's still here. It murmured, tightening its grip until she gasped. But not as you remember. The candles flared, one by one, until the whole library blazed with spectral light. Then, darkness. A scream echoed, not hers, but his, and the door slammed shut behind her. A hand made of ink and smoke grips her wrist from the floor and whispers, He's still here, but not as you remember. Days passed like pages turning themselves. Evelyn barely noticed the sun anymore. Since the night the shadow's hand had gripped her wrist, the mark it left behind, an inky trace of black veins, had refused to fade. It pulsed faintly now and then, like a heartbeat under her skin. But what terrified her most wasn't the mark. It was the whisper that followed her wherever she went. In the hallways, in her dreams, in the turning of the pages she hadn't yet touched. Evelyn. She whispered his name back into the silence, hoping he would answer. But Adrian didn't come, not yet. Instead, the library did. The once sealed West Wing had opened fully now. No one else seemed to notice. Students walked past its doors as if it didn't exist. Only she could see the faint golden shimmer around it, the pull of the curse that called only to her. That night, she lit a single candle and stepped inside once more. The air felt thick, alive. The shelves whispered softly, pages fluttering though there was no wind. On one of the reading tables lay a book she hadn't seen before, a diary bound in dark, cracked leather, with a rose pressed into the cover so faded it had turned black. The moment her fingers touched it, the flame beside her flared high, nearly white. She opened it. To my beloved, should the curse not break, let this record remain. For love is a bond crueler than death and sweeter than sin. Evelyn's heart stilled. The handwriting, elegant, curling, desperate, felt familiar. She turned the page. The entry spoke of a professor and his student, of stolen glances across candlelight, of a forbidden love that defied the academy's laws. It was a mirror to her own story, every word an echo of her heart. But the diary ended abruptly, mid-sentence. He made the pact. The lover's seal is complete. Now we. The ink bled across the page like fresh blood, and beneath the final line, a single symbol appeared, the same sigil that had burned beneath her hand that night. She whispered into the still air, the lover's seal. The words tasted like sorrow. The ground trembled slightly. One by one, the candles around her lit themselves. She gasped, stepping back. The air grew heavy with whispers, not one but many, overlapping voices, pleading, yearning, warning. Stop reading. Turn back. Do not break what was bound. She spun around, heart racing. Adrian. The whisper deepened. This time, it was him. His voice, clear and aching. Evelyn. She froze. Her eyes darted toward the mirror on the far wall. There, like smoke solidifying, stood his reflection. Adrian. He was not the man she remembered. His form flickered in and out, his edges blurring into shadow. His eyes glowed faintly, storm gray and sorrowful. When he spoke, his voice trembled between worlds. You shouldn't be here, he whispered, stepping closer, or at least trying to. His reflection wavered, distorted like water disturbed. The second seal must never be found. Her throat tightened. Why? What is it, Adrian? Tell me. He looked at her, really looked, and the air between them thickened with unspoken emotion. It binds what remains of me, he said softly. The first seal kept me alive, the second will destroy what's left. Evelyn shook her head. No, I can free you. You don't understand, he said, voice breaking. The library doesn't want to let me go. It feeds on memory, on love. The more you seek me, the more it claims of us both. But she stepped closer, her hand trembling over the mirror's surface. I won't stop, Adrian. Not now. Not after everything. For a fleeting second, his form solidified, his face inches from hers. The cold of the glass met the warmth of her palm, and she felt the faintest pulse beneath it, as though his heartbeat answered hers. Evelyn, he whispered, his voice trembling. Please. Her breath caught. She felt it again, the phantom touch, tracing down the side of her neck. The air around her thickened, pressing in. The scent of old books and rain wrapped her like a memory. I'll find you, she murmured, even if it means breaking every seal in this cursed place. His gaze softened, love and fear in equal measure. Then, the library itself seemed to stir. Shelves groaned. Candles hissed. The reflection rippled violently. Adrian's voice broke through the chaos, faint and fading. If you open the second seal. He reached for her, his fingers dissolving into smoke. You'll lose what's left of me. His form shattered like glass, scattering into the air. The candles extinguished at once, leaving her alone in darkness, the echo of his voice clinging to the air. Adrian fades again, whispering, if you open the second seal, you'll lose what's left of me. The library no longer slept. Every night, the whispers grew louder, the candles burned on their own, and Evelyn's pulse seemed to beat in time with something ancient, something alive within the walls. Adrian's voice had not left her since that night. It lingered behind her thoughts, in every breath, in the faint warmth she sometimes felt ghost across her skin. The memory of him was no longer memory. It was presence. She sat alone at the long oak table, surrounded by forbidden texts that had appeared since his last visit. Some were written in languages she had never seen before, symbols that seemed to twist on the page when she looked too long. The ink shimmered like liquid night. At the center of one page, a single line pulsed faintly. To touch across worlds, one must surrender what separates flesh from soul. Her fingers trembled. The moment she read it, The air around her shifted, soft at first, then heavy, charged. The flame of the candle before her swayed, though there was no wind. "Adrian," she whispered. "Are you here?" At first, silence. Then, the faintest warmth against her neck. Her breath caught. "Always," his voice murmured, close enough to make her heart ache. She turned slowly. The air shimmered, and there he was, his form faint and luminous, edges fraying like smoke, yet his eyes as piercing as ever. Storm gray, full of longing. "Evelyn." His voice was both a whisper and a caress. "You shouldn't have read that text." Her lips parted. "Why?" "It speaks of the seals, of crossing the veil." He stepped closer. The closer he came, the colder the air grew, though her body burned. "Because each word binds you further. The curse feeds on our connection. It wants us to give in." She stood, her pulse drumming against her throat. "Then let it feed." He froze, eyes widening. "You don't know what you're saying." But she did. Every beat of her heart screamed his name. Every breath ached with the emptiness he'd left behind. The space between them shimmered like heat rising from stone. She could almost feel his breath, impossible, unreal, yet so painfully real it made her knees weaken. "Evelyn." His tone deepened, thick with longing and fear. "The veil can't hold forever if you keep." Her hand reached for his, and for a heartbeat, he was solid. His fingers brushed hers, warmth and electricity colliding like thunder in her veins. The candle flames stretched higher, flickering wildly. A low hum filled the room, the library itself responding, alive to their touch. Her breath came shallow, her body trembling with an energy that wasn't just magic, it was him. The air between them thickened, shimmering like molten gold. When she spoke, her voice was barely a whisper. "I can feel you." He swallowed hard, eyes searching hers. "You shouldn't." But she stepped closer, drawn by an invisible pull, until their breaths mingled, until the space between their lips was made of trembling air and reckless hope. "Then stop me," she whispered. He didn't. The moment their lips met, the world seemed to shatter. There was no veil, no curse, no separation, only the storm of sensation, heat and ache, the ghost of his touch searing her soul. Her fingers tangled in nothing and everything all at once, his shadow pressing close, the taste of lightning in the air. The kiss was both real and not, a bridge of longing spanning two realms. The shelves trembled. Candles burst into blue fire. Pages flew open around them, words twisting into the air like living things. He pulled back first, gasping like a drowning man breaking the surface. His form flickered violently, his face torn between agony and ecstasy. "What have you done?" His voice was raw. "You've weakened the prison." Evelyn clutched the edge of the table, breathless, dazed. "Then that means I can free you." "No," his voice cracked. "You don't understand. The curse feeds on desire. It wants this. The more we reach for each other, the stronger it becomes." "But I felt you," she whispered, eyes wide. "You were real. You." A deafening creak cut through her words. The shelves behind her shuddered. Books cascaded from their places, slamming to the floor one after another, until the air filled with dust and trembling sound. Evelyn stumbled back, watching as the fallen books rearranged themselves across the stone floor. Slowly, impossibly, they aligned into words, letters glowing faintly like dying embers. Her voice broke into the silence. "What is it saying?" Adrian's shadow turned toward it. His eyes darkened with dread. On the floor, in blackened ink and ash, the words took form. "You have awakened what must never wake." Before she could move, the ground beneath her feet rippled, alive and breathing. The candle flames bent toward her, whispering her name like a promise and a warning both. And somewhere deep within the walls of the library, something stirred. Something older than books fall from the shelves, forming words on the floor. "You have awakened what must never wake." The air beneath the library was colder than death. Each step Evelyn took echoed like a heartbeat in the hollow dark. The stairway wound downward into a forgotten chamber, where the scent of iron and dust filled her lungs. Her lantern flickered, painting trembling circles of gold on the walls, revealing symbols carved deep into the stone, runes that pulsed faintly, as though breathing. She had dreamed of this place for nights. The second seal. The one Adrian had warned her about. Her fingers brushed the wall. The stone was warm, pulsing beneath her touch. "This is it," she whispered, her voice small in the vastness. The library above creaked faintly, as though aware of her trespass. Then, silence. And then, a whisper. Her name. Evelyn. She turned sharply, her lantern shaking. The voice came from behind the runes, soft, desperate, achingly familiar. The air shimmered, and from the dimness stepped Adrian, or the ghost of what he'd become. Half of him was shadow, the other, the echo of a man once alive. His eyes burned with the memory of warmth, and his hands trembled as he reached for her, his form flickering like firelight through mist. "You shouldn't be here," he murmured, his tone trembling with sorrow. "The seal binds me, Evelyn. It keeps them contained." She swallowed hard. "You mean the curse?" He shook his head. "No. The curse is mercy. What lies beneath is hunger." The chains at his wrists glowed faintly, spectral light twisting through them. Evelyn's chest tightened as she stepped closer, feeling the pulse of the unseen power between them. She wanted to reach out, to touch his face, to confirm that he was still real, still hers, but her hand trembled. "I can't leave you here," she whispered. "You were never meant to find me," he said, voice breaking. "But your heart, it called me back." She smiled through the ache. "Then it's too late. I won't stop." Adrian's expression softened with something that looked like both love and despair. "You have no idea what you risk." "I don't care," she breathed. "You're all that's left." The air shifted. Candles burst to life on their own, encircling them in trembling gold. The flickering light danced across the runes, which began to bleed faintly, lines of crimson spreading like veins across the stone. The chamber itself seemed to wake. The walls sighed, the floor trembled. Evelyn stumbled forward, directly into Adrian's arms. His body felt real for a heartbeat, solid, warm. The shock of it stole her breath. His hand came up, brushing her cheek, the contact igniting something deep and forbidden inside her. She could feel the tether between them tightening, the same energy that had haunted her dreams, now crackling through her skin like lightning. "Evelyn," he whispered, his voice a low, raw ache. "If you free me, you'll destroy yourself." "Then let me burn," she said. The silence between them stretched, heavy, breathless. His thumb traced the curve of her lips, as though memorizing them. The air quivered, and for a single, impossible moment, they were one heartbeat apart. Then, his mouth met hers. It was not a kiss of flesh, but of souls colliding. The world stilled. The lantern shattered. The runes flared white-hot. Every shadow screamed with memory. Her senses drowned. Warmth, longing, sorrow. His breath against hers like smoke and fire. His whisper tangled in her pulse. The curse trembled, bending beneath their defiance. Adrian pulled back, his form flickering violently now. "You don't understand. The seal, it's breaking." "I can fix it," she gasped. But the earth itself rebelled. The runes exploded into light. Chains clattered. The air roared with 1,000 ghostly cries. The library above shuddered, dust raining from its ceilings. Through the chaos, Evelyn's gaze caught the floor, the heart of the seal, carved deep into stone. She dropped to her knees, her palm pressing against it. The mark burned beneath her hand, heat searing through her veins as if branding her soul. A voice, not one, but many, rose from beneath the earth. "The guardian is dead." Evelyn froze, her breath catching. The light died. The chamber fell into suffocating darkness. She turned toward Adrian, but he was already fading, his face twisted in anguish. "No," she whispered, reaching for him. "Adrian." His voice broke through the black, soft as ash. "You've unbound the shadows, Evelyn. They're coming for you now." And then, silence, except for the echo of her heartbeat and the faint, cold laughter that rose from the depths below. As Evelyn stared into the dark void beneath the cracked seal, the air trembled, and a whisper like smoke curled around her ear. "The guardian is dead, and his place is yours." The moment Evelyn's hand left the cracked stone, the world convulsed. The ground beneath her feet split with a thunderous roar, releasing a torrent of wind and light that tore through the chamber like a storm unleashed after centuries of slumber. Pages flew through the air like screaming birds. Candles shattered. The ancient shelves of the library above groaned, shifting as though alive. Evelyn stumbled backward, shielding her face as waves of spectral light burst from the broken seal. Each flare revealed flashes of long-dead faces, their eyes hollow, mouths open in silent agony. Whispers surged through the air, overlapping, echoing, pleading. "The guardian is gone. The gate is open." She gasped, clutching her chest. "Adrian." Her voice was swallowed by the howling wind. Then he appeared. Through the blinding storm, his form solidified. No longer a shade, no longer a flicker between realms. Flesh and breath and heartbeat. Adrian Vale stood before her in full human form once again, his dark hair tousled, his coat torn and glistening with spectral light. For one suspended heartbeat, Evelyn could only stare. "You're real?" she whispered. Adrian's chest rose and fell. His eyes, once filled with warmth, now glimmered with something darker, colder, like twin eclipses of gold drowned in shadow. "I told you not to break it," he said softly. His voice carried two tones now, his own and something beneath it, something vast. Evelyn's lantern light trembled over his face. "I had to. You were trapped." "And now," he interrupted, a bitter smile ghosting across his lips, "so are you." Before she could move, the walls of the library above began to shift, bending and breathing. The once majestic rows of shelves warped into spiraling columns of books that stretched endlessly upward. The entire structure seemed to inhale, then exhale a cloud of dust and whispers. Evelyn clung to a pillar as the storm raged, her voice breaking. "What's happening?" "The library is alive," Adrian said, his tone low and fractured. "It was never just stone and ink. It's bound to the seal, its heart. When you broke it, you woke everything." He stepped closer, each movement graceful and haunted, the flicker of light painting strange patterns across his face. Evelyn felt her pulse quicken, equal parts fear and yearning. "I freed you," she said, trembling. "That's all I wanted." He looked at her then, and something flickered in his eyes, recognition, grief, love. His voice softened. "You did, and for that, I should thank you." He reached out, fingertips brushing her cheek. The touch sent warmth rushing through her, too vivid, too real. But beneath it lingered something else, an invisible pulse, a vibration beneath his skin that didn't belong to him. Evelyn's breath caught. "Adrian, your eyes." He closed them for a moment, as if fighting an unseen force. "I can feel it, whatever was bound beneath the seal. It's inside me now." The air thickened, humming with ancient energy. Evelyn pressed a trembling hand to his chest. His heartbeat was strong, but irregular, as if two rhythms warred beneath his skin. "I'll fix this," she said fiercely. "There has to be a way." Adrian's hand closed gently over hers, his gaze shadowed. "You don't understand. The seal wasn't meant to imprison me. It was meant to contain what watches through me now." The words hit like ice. "You mean, the thing beneath the library," he said, voice breaking. "The one that made the pact with me centuries ago, to guard this place, to keep it from waking." Evelyn's mind spun. "Then when I freed you, you freed it." The library groaned again, the lights flickering out one by one. Only a few candles remained, their flames struggling against the darkness. Evelyn looked up, the air rippled with spectral figures, drifting between shelves like lost memories. Adrian took a step closer, his shadow stretching unnaturally long behind him. "Listen to me, Evelyn. The final seal, whatever happens, it cannot be broken." "Why?" "Because if it breaks," he whispered, "there will be nothing left of me to save." Evelyn's throat tightened, tears stinging her eyes. She could see it now, the war in his gaze. The man she loved, and the thing that wore his soul like a cloak. Her heart twisted at the sight of him, alive, yet unraveling before her. "Adrian," she breathed. His hand rose to her neck, trembling. "You shouldn't have come back. I couldn't live without you." His thumb brushed the edge of her jaw, and the moment stilled. The air thickened, the shadows drawing closer like they were listening. Their lips met. It was a kiss suspended between worlds, too human to be spectral, too haunted to be mortal. The room pulsed with energy. Pages lifted from the floor, spinning in circles around them like a storm of memory. The kiss deepened, slow, desperate, trembling, and she felt the energy surge between them, light spilling from their joined forms. And then, Adrian shuddered. His body convulsed in her arms. "Adrian," she whispered. He froze. The flicker of warmth vanished from his eyes, replaced by an abyssal stillness. Every candle in the room extinguished at once. Darkness consumed everything. "Adrian," she called again, heart pounding. "Adrian, talk to me." Then, in the pitch black, his voice came. But it was no longer his. It was deeper, ancient, echoing from everywhere at once. "You've set me free, Evelyn." Her blood turned to ice. The shadowed figure before her straightened, his movements too slow, too deliberate. The faint outline of Adrian's face twisted into something both familiar and monstrous. And now, the voice hissed through his lips. "You're mine." Evelyn's scream echoed through the endless dark, and the library answered with 1,000 whispers of its own.